Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, Rita is here with us. It's Fresh Cold Radio Breakfast this morning, and we've changed it to, let me get this right, Wellness Wednesday. Is that correct?
There we go. Wellness Wednesday. Absolutely.
Wellness Wednesday. Now, listen, what's this I hear about you broken your car? I'm not going to make it public. Why have you broken it? I'm only kidding with you. I'm just kidding with you. How easy to knock people off the path. I mean, what are you like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Reckless driver. No, for me, I, like any person who's used to driving a very large 7-seater 4x4 where you could take it up Mount Everest and it wouldn't get a scratch.
Yes.
I now have a rather more delicate high performance car that I think I've been treating with a bit too much aggression when it comes to going up curbs or things like that.
You're not alone. I've seen it many, many times, and I don't think you're any different. But there you go. All right. So listen, you're looking well. You're looking radiant as normal. And how's the week been for you on a scale of 1 to 10? Because it's
been fantastic. This week's been lovely. You know, it's Easter holidays. The kids are off. It's been sunshine. I really can't complain. It's been a beautiful sort of start to April.
Yeah, it has indeed. So good. So the kids are off. You're just sitting there and I was going to say pontificate, but that sounds wrong. It's not. What are we talking
awful.
about? Sorry, let's rewind. I'll tell you what. I'll edit that bit out. Right?
There we go. It's not like this is live or anything.
No. We'll edit that bit out so nobody knows what I'm talking about, which is about normal, to be perfectly fair. So what do we have for us today, please?
So today I wanted to talk about questions are the answers, which is possibly a phrase that people may have heard. It is also a book by Alan Pease. But in general, questions are the answers refers to the idea that every single person listening to this, every single person on the planet has the answers to their problems, their struggles, their challenges within them. And it essentially takes the right person to come along and ask them a question that brings that answer out. But equally, we can do it for ourselves. And one of the biggest learning curves that I ever had when it came to my body transformation, my life transformation, my mindset transformation, was understanding that the quality of the questions I asked myself on a daily basis determined the quality of the life that I then led, including the quality of the success I saw in changes in my body. So the first question I would always pose to people when we're talking about this is, what are the most common questions you ask yourself on a daily basis? Because we're not sitting here going, Rita, are you doing this? We don't verbally sit and ask ourselves questions, but internally, any thought that you have, any internal voice or self-talk that you have usually starts with a subconscious question. Why am I not good enough? Why can't I do this? Why do I always fail? Why can't I lose weight? Why don't I have enough money? All of these kind of questions we're usually subconsciously asking ourselves on a very regular basis, and they lead to really poor quality answers because they're framed in such a negative space. So it's about looking at how we're framing the way we ask questions of ourselves.
So on that basis, then, do you think that some of that could be, for some people, could be a way of screwing themselves to the floor? Because if they can't find the answers they think they should have, are they not looking into themselves to think, well, hang on, maybe I look at it a different way? For instance, whenever we watch The Chase or any program on the TV that's to do with quizzing and stuff, a lot of the time the clue is in the question. So is that a similar way you're coming at things here?
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that we can talk about chase and pointless. Yeah, let's look at it like a quiz. So the clue is usually in the question. And if we asked ourselves a question, for instance, yesterday, I was having a conversation with a client, one of the women that I work with, who categorically said, I hate exercise. And, you know, she's doing really, really well. She's losing lots of weight, but exercise is a sticking point for her. And she said, I hate exercise. And I said, well, what question are you asking yourself that creates the answer, I hate exercise? And the questions that she's asking herself are things like, why am I no good at exercise? Why have I never been good at it? Why do I always fail at exercise? And all of these questions that she's asking lead to negative cycles of answers. I fail because I'm too old. I fail because I'm too overweight. I fail because I have no coordination. Whatever it might be, when we frame a question like that, there's going to be a clue in it which leads to a negative response. Why do I always fail is always going to lead to a negative response. If we flip that question to, how can I enjoy exercise? How can I move in a way that makes me feel good? How can I do exercise without feeling like I'm doing exercise? You know, one of the things that I always say to people is distract yourself. Go and get a couple of weights, go in the living room and put on your favorite episode of, I don't know, Midsummer Murders and exercise in front of that. You'll be completely distracted. So it's about shifting the framework of the question, because the clue is in the question. If it's got a positive framework that has to lead to a positive answer, you're going to feel much, much better than if you create a negative framed question.
And do you think that will make people feel better about themselves as opposed when you say, "Oh, I fail at exercise"? Is it not what maybe say, "Well, what is it I can do so I don't fail at exercise"? Is it, you know, is it, or to leave the word "fail" out of the question entirely?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to exercise in this particular example, you cannot fail. There is no fail. And one of the things that people need to realize is whether it's exercise, meal prep, going for a walk, whatever it is, just showing up is better than doing nothing. And the quality of the questions absolutely determines the quality of life. You know, you could take Robin Williams. The whole planet probably listening to this would know who Robin Williams is. He was highly, by anybody's standards, successful. He was financially successful. He had a loving wife. He had beautiful kids. He was in Hollywood movies. He was on Broadway, massive house. I mean, it's very hard to create from an external perspective failure in his life. But the kind of questions he asked himself were, why am I not good enough? Why am I not funny enough? Why can I never be happy? Why do I always feel like this? Why can I never be good enough for my wife, my kids, right? These kind of questions, if we ask ourselves questions like that, doesn't matter how much money we have, how much love we have, how much success we have, we will ultimately end up failing. And for him, obviously, the ultimate failure was taking his own life because the quality of the questions was terrible. But you could have someone who grows up in a cardboard box, no money, no material stuff, no family, you know, living homeless, but they ask themselves questions like, how can I make tomorrow better?
Yeah.
How can I succeed? How can I find a job? What can I do to make myself feel good? And if they ask themselves those kind of questions, they will ultimately succeed regardless of external circumstance. So the quality of the questions, yes, it determines the quality of our body transformation, but equally the happiness in our life.
Yeah. Okay. So those sort of things, and I would imagine then that what you're doing is you are creating that questions that leads to a high euphoria, if you like, as the way people feel about themselves. And by flipping those questions, do you think people are able to grasp that perspective? Is it difficult if they've, for instance, if they've been in this, what I'll call negative rut for a period of time, and that could be quite a considerable period of time? How do we then fuse that positivity in what was originally a negative vibe?
So absolutely. Usually for a lot of people, it's been decades, if not their entire life. And the first thing is to be aware. So in any change, it's probably something that people have heard before, but awareness is the very first key to change. So we need to be aware that we're doing it. The second thing that I would always say is question the voice. Because a lot of the time, let's take the classic, why am I not good enough? That's not you asking it. That's your dad when you came home at the age of 7 and you got an F on your homework. Or that's your mum when you, I don't know, got picked last for the school netball team. Often when we hear these questions, why are you not good enough? It's not actually us that created it. It's something that we heard as a kid, as a teenager. You know, I have another client, and I can resonate with this from somebody in my past, where she said, why are my thighs so big? I was like, that's a very specific question. Why are my thighs so big? And I said, well, take yourself back. Who asked that question? Where was the first time? She said, well, surely it was me. And I said, no, it wasn't. And she took herself back. And when she was 9, her uncle came to visit and looked her up and down and said, why are your thighs so big? And this is stuck in her mind. It wasn't her question. It was something put upon her by another person who didn't have her best interests at heart. So first of all, be aware that it's happening. Second of all, question the question. Whose voice is it? Because often it's been put upon you by someone that shouldn't have ever done that, usually someone in a position of authority. And third, flip the question. So create an opposing question. Why do I hate exercise? An opposing question. How can I make exercise fun? Why are my thighs so big? How can I start to love that part of my body?
Yeah.
Flip the question from one to another. So it's a sort of a 3-step process. It's not overnight. Don't get me wrong. We can't undo 5 decades of negative cycle in 24 hours. But if we start, we will start to see a new habit of questioning evolve.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. And obviously, these are the kind of things you infuse and teach people and all the rest of it. And if they want to know more, then Rita, how do they get in touch? What is the best way? Is it by Facebook, or how would you prefer?
Honestly, however works for everybody. So we've got our website, which is thehealthandfitnesscoach.com. You can email directly to me, which is Rita, Rita, at thehealthandfitnesscoach.co.uk. Or you can find us on Facebook, which is Rita Trotter, Instagram, which is The Health and Fitness Coach, or LinkedIn, or any other way. You can just Google Rita Trotter and I'll come up. So, there's a multitude of facets.
So you're everywhere, is what you're saying.
I'm everywhere, yeah.
Now, listen, somebody did say to me, you're all over the place, but did they mean that? Did they mean
I'll always take that as a compliment. See, a question.
Yeah,
how can that mean something good?
It was your husband, but I won't mention that at all. All right, listen, thank you very much for joining us again this morning, and we'll speak to you next week on Wellness Wednesday, and this song will sum it up. There are more questions than answers. Yes, there are. Rita, you take care. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Ta-da, bye-bye.